Hi, I'm Tonia Wilson, and today I'm going to prepare a lovely, simple pasta for you. I lived 4 years in Italy and came up with a bunch of favorites while I was there in terms of pasta and other dishes. Most of the favorites are simple, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make some spaghetti con pomodoro e tonno. So spaghetti with tuna and cherry tomatoes. And then once we prepare that, I'm going to speak a little bit about a simple, not so simple, but a lovely white wine from the north of Italy. A great variety that doesn't get seen that often, so I would like to introduce you to that. And let's get started on the dish. Just a few ingredients that you need. So the ingredients you're going to need for the pasta are cherry tomatoes sliced in half lengthwise, flat leaf parsley, 1 lemon, some capers, some chili flakes, fresh garlic, extra virgin olive oil, and then we've got some tinned tuna. You want to use tuna that's conserved in oil rather than water, and also some dried pasta. So when buying your pasta, look for an Italian brand, or at least something of higher quality. It won't cost you much more, but it'll make a big difference in your final product. Okay, so the first ingredient we're going to use is the garlic. We're going to snip off the end, flatten it, and take the peel off. And then we're just going to slice it up to make it more manageable. And once you've sliced it, you can then chop over top. So I like a fair amount of garlic, so I'm going to do 3 cloves. Just that here for a moment. You always want to keep your hand on the back of the blade to keep it stable. So we've got that cut finely. Now my pan is heated to medium-high. I'm going to add some olive oil, a generous amount. That's what makes Italian food so good. I'm going to put the garlic in. We're just going to let that get aromatic, soften up a little bit. We don't want it to brown, just lightly golden. So we'll watch that for a moment. What we're going to put in as well are our chili flakes. It's our personal preference. You can add as little or as much as you like. As the garlic's starting to soften, we're also going to add some capers. Once again, personal preference. I like a little bit of zing and tang, so I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons. Now, as those are cooking, I'm just going to mention the tuna. I had said use tuna that's in oil. I just find that the tuna in oil is better quality, seems to be a little bit better for cooking. So garlic has softened up. I'm going to add the tuna to the pan, and I've got 2 tins of tuna here. You can make this dish with 1 tin. 2 would be the max. I find is 2 tins is more than enough. This is a pantry dish, so you kind of make it with what you have. So we're going to cook off the tuna and the garlic and the capers together for a few moments. The oil that comes in the tinned tuna, you want to make sure you drain that off beforehand. We've got our own extra virgin olive oil in there, so we want that flavor, not the flavor of the other oil. While this is cooking, I'm just going to finish off with the tomatoes. So we've got the cherry tomatoes. You want to slice them lengthwise. The easiest way to do this, to make quick work of it, is to use a serrated steak knife. This makes it easier. I find this knife is an easy size to handle for cherry tomatoes. We've got those ready to go into the pan. These can all go in. And now we just let that cook for about 10 minutes. And turn the heat down a little bit. And I'm going to add a touch of salt at this point. Okay, so we've got the tomatoes cooking. I'm gonna put a lid on this and just let it simmer for about 10 minutes. We want those tomatoes to soften up nicely. In the meantime, I'm going to put some salt into my pasta water. So for the pasta water, a very important part of making good pasta is making sure that your water is well salted. I've got my water boiling. You want to have a good full pot of water, lots of room for the pasta to swim around. And you want to add enough salt to the water that when you taste the water, you can taste the salt in it. So a pinch of salt won't help at all. And also olive oil is not needed in water. Okay, so we're ready to put the pasta in. Our water is boiling nicely. I'm going to use a whole pound of pasta. When measuring out long pasta, I usually do about 120 grams per person. And you want to just, as you drop it into the pot, let it separate a little bit. So the pasta water has come back to the boil. Just want to give it one more stir. Make sure everything's loose in there. And I'll leave the lid off for the rest of the boiling. So I'm using the flat leaf parsley. I love parsley in pasta because it brings a really nice fresh astringency and kind of perks the pasta's flavor up. We're just going to take a big handful of this and chop it up. When you're storing your fresh herbs, good to keep it in a cup like this with some water and then a little sandwich baggie over top. It keeps it a lot longer, and it also reminds you when you open the fridge and you see it in there that you need to be using it up. So I'm just going to make a little pile, chop it down slightly, and then once it's broken down a little bit, once again over top, I'm just going to finely dice that up. Now that the pasta is almost done, I want to take a little bit of that cooking water out and add it to the sauce. This is another little sort of Italian tip. And you can see around here, all of that white, that's starch from the pasta, and it's going to thicken up our sauce a little bit and just sort of emulsify it. So you just want to either use a spoon or a metal or glass measuring cup, and just scoop a tiny bit of that out into the pan. That's doing well. Tomatoes are softening. Now I want to try the pasta. So you can go by the packaging, the minutes on the packaging, but it's best to trust yourself by tasting it. Take one out and let it cool down for a moment. It still has a little crunch on the inside. I probably have about one more minute on my pasta. Let that finish cooking. Our parsley is ready. We're going to add the lemon zest. So this is probably a bit of a more modern twist to this dish. Since the rasp has been invented, lemon zest finds a home in many things. I find it's really lovely in this dish, and will make it actually a perfect match for the wine that we're going to have with it. So you just want to make sure you wash your lemon first, and then take the zest off with the rasp. And both the parsley and the lemon zest go in just at the last moment so that they stay bright in their color and flavor. Okay, so one last test here on the spaghetti. It's perfect. There's still a little bite left in the middle. I'm going to turn off the heat and carefully empty the pasta into a colander. The pasta is drained, and I put the pasta right back into the cooking pot. I'm going to put the sauce into here. I'm all about trying to save on doing dishes, so by keeping everything in this big pot, you'll only have 2 pans to wash afterwards. And we're going to let the pasta and the sauce just sit for a moment together so that the sauce takes on some great flavor. We can add our parsley to this dish now. And the lemon zest. I'm going to give that a good stir together. And at this point, you want to add a little bit of fresh olive oil. And this will sort of help bind the pasta together and also add another element of flavor. And this I'm doing off of the heat, so the heat has been turned off. Okay, so we're ready to plate our dish. We're gonna pull the pasta straight up and right onto the plate. I usually do the pasta first and then top up with a little bit of the sauce afterwards, which sauce in Italy is often referred to as condimento. So it's just basically a condiment on the pasta, not necessarily lots and lots of it. And that looks great. We're gonna finish off with a bit of olive oil. And if you choose, a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano. No self-respecting Italian would put cheese onto seafood, but I know a lot of people that love it that way, so that's totally up to you. Okay, so the wine that I've chosen for this dish is, it's called Garganega, is the grape variety. The producer is Riondo, and this is a grape that comes from the north of Italy, from the Veneto region. Typically, it finds itself in Soave, which is one of the more popular Italian wines, but when it's produced as a wine on its own, it actually makes a really interesting, lovely food wine. So this has lots of sort of stone fruit like peach and apricot, but won't get into it too much, but it's really pretty on the nose. But the more important thing is that the mouthfeel is quite full and is great for food. So I've got some lemony notes to this as well, which will match perfectly with the pasta and the tuna. If you can find a Garganega, have a look for it because it's really worth searching out and makes terrific wine. Cheers, Sante, and hope you enjoy the pasta. For this recipe and all my other recipes, please see my website at toniawilson.com.